I'm finding a lot more people in all sorts of ways of working talking about, oh, gee, it'd be great if we could automate this part of our job.
Very simple tool to get started is make.com, and another one is called N8N. I would say N8N is really good for enterprises because you can actually download this tool and host it within your server or within your environment.
If you could walk into your office and go to your team and say, all right, give me the top 3 things that you have to do all the time that you really don't like doing. If you can ease even one of those, imagine the difference that would make.
Having an AI assistant is good, but you can't really measure the effect of it. Having assistive agents is a good first step. But once you start to use AI for the automation and automating the workflows, that's where you actually start to see some really significant savings in the business.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Dumb Monkey podcast. We are, as always, joined by the founder of Enterprise Monkey and the founder of the Dumb Monkey podcast, Aamir Qutub. Aamir, hello, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
Fantastic, thank you. Really excited to be back in the chair, back in the studio. And of course, we're continuing our job here of trying to help business leaders and people who are working in the business and industry sectors here and around the world, because we're going global here at the podcast.
Yeah, yes.
And we want to really give some useful information on how they can integrate AI, perhaps bring in some new concepts, or just explore a little bit deeper into how that can be done. You and I have spoken a lot recently about first steps into these forms of AI. But today we'd like to stretch a little bit into an area of AI that is perhaps a little bit uncomfortable for a few people in the business sector. But I'd suggest that is somewhere that we're all going to get to fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And that's on automation agents.
That's right. And I guess this is where you start to see the maximum savings in the business as well. So having an AI assistant is good, but you can't really measure the effect of it. Having assistive agents is a good first step. But once you start to use AI for the automation and automating the workflows, that's where you actually start to see some really significant savings in the business.
Now, I don't know about you, Aamir, but I'm finding recently, and this has really been something that's developed even over the last couple of months, I'm finding a lot more people in all sorts of ways of working talking about, oh, gee, it'd be great if we could automate this part of our job. It feels like there's a little bit more positivity around the value that automation agents can bring. And that feels like it's a really important first step in encouraging people and opening up this power of AI in the space of automation.
Yes, especially if you look at it from the perspective of there are so many things that we do in our day-to-day work, which we absolutely hate to do. And it could be even if you're a manager, if you are working in admin space, if you are a CEO, still we have to do what I call as robots or repeated, obligatory, boring operational tasks.
Yeah, you really need to put that on a T-shirt.
I need to, yes.
Yeah, Christmas party.
Yes.
Okay.
So use robots to defeat robots. Yes. So use AI to actually defeat these repeated, obligatory, boring operational tasks that we have to do that are very important, but they're very boring, and they are the ones that no one likes to do, but we have to do them.
I'm going to ask you the dumb monkey question, because that's my job here, is to be the dumb monkey in the room. Aamir, I'm a business leader. I have a team of people. I have a whole lot of robots in my ways of working, in my team's way of working particularly. And I would love for us to be able to integrate some automation tools into our workflows. But I have absolutely no idea how to do that. Where do I start?
So a very good first point to start with is look at your value chain, which what it means is every organization would have some sort of marketing or communications arm. Then you've got sales arm, that's where you bring people in. Then you have operations where you actually do the work. So you are delivering the work. And then you have got admin layer, which is supporting the work, which could be your admin, finance, and all of that. So look at all of those processes and understand, okay, what are the things that I'm doing within those larger processes? What are some of the processes and tasks that we are doing? And what are some of those things that we have to do? We are doing it again. The reason I say repeated is because if we are doing it once off, then of course you might want to do it manually. But if that's something that we have to do it on a repeated basis, either weekly or daily or monthly or on an hourly basis, then these are obligatory tasks, which are important to do. But then these are the tasks that do not require a huge amount of creativity. So for example, let's look at sales. So in sales, if there's a new query that comes to your website, or someone emails you, you have to take that query and then put that in the CRM. You might have to look up the information of the person, add that to the CRM. Now, CRM is a great tool because you're putting the information in there, but you still have to do that work manually. You still have to do the research manually. So what you can do is you can develop a very simple automation that can look into your emails if there's a new sales query, or be attached with your phone if there's a query through the phone. It can take that information, fill it into your CRM, but then look into the information in the CRM, go out in the market and find everything that you need to know about that customer to be able to go back to them and pitch to them. Then the next level of automation is that you might have to go back to them and fix a phone call or whatever. So that part can be automated as well. So you start to look at any of process in your business and say, okay, these are the things that we are doing manually, how we can start to automate them.
So, for instance, I'm going to go back to a conversation that we had with Ben here at the photo studio, and he talked about automating things like proposals.
Yes.
So, sales query has come in, or a work query has come in, and he wants to supply some information. Now, effectively, it's going to be a version of the same information. I mean, we all do these repeated tasks. We all supply much of a similar service. So, these sort of messages that we're repeating over and over again, these are great entry points for automation, yes?
Absolutely. So what Ben suggested that he was taking the meeting. So he was doing a meeting, a client brief meeting. And generally, if you're in a service business, when you are interacting with the client, you do a discovery meeting with them, understand what their brief is. And right now, the process is that you're taking notes and you go back and then try to sit with your team and create a proposal. And that is a very basic manual process. So what Ben had done over there is that he had created some custom GPTs or some prompts where he could take the transcript from the meeting minutes and put in there that would cut through all of the crap, cut through all of the hi, hello, how are you, and identify what does the client actually needs. And then on the basis of the other proposal, it would help him create the proposal. So that is a process that you can easily automate, where because Ben still had to export the transcript and put in the GPT. But what you can do is that as soon as the meeting is done, and that's something that we have done over in our organization, is that when we have finished with the client meeting, it takes the meeting transcripts, automatically passes it through a custom GPT, and then gives us a draft proposal. Then we provide some inputs over there, and then it finalizes the proposal and sends it to the client.
That's a nice entry point into automation. We should really look at, okay, that's great, but if you might be using Copilot, you might be using Microsoft Copilot, you might be using Perplexity, pick your GPT, but how are people actually going to start to do this? So give us those first steps and maybe actually, I'm going to really step up my dumb monkeys here. I'm going to ask you to give me the first 3 steps.
Okay, let's do that. So first, let's look at the architecture of automation. How does it actually works? And why is it possible with the AI? Why it was not possible to do it before? So previously, we also talked about automation and trying to automate things. But the problem was that it was possible to connect system from one system to another system. But what was not possible was to actually understand the information, convert it into a different format and put it in different place.
So contextualizing
the information. So there are tools right now that you can use, and these are like drag and drop tools, like make.com is one of the tools. Another one is called N8N, and you can simply connect your systems with these tools because there are already connections that are available with all of the systems that you're using. So if you're using like HubSpot, your Gmail, they have got like thousands of integrations that are available, which means you can easily connect to the system and create your own workflows. But where the magic comes in the automations is that you can, how you're putting information into ChatGPT, but you can take a ChatGPT module and actually add it into your workflow. So again, giving it an example, we have got a transcript from a meeting. Now this transcript, or we've got a meeting recording at the moment. We don't even have a transcript, right? So you can actually have a module of OpenAI. They've got a Whisper API, which takes a voice recording and converts into text. So you tell that module that your job is that whenever a recording is pushed to you, you take it and convert it into transcript. Then you put another OpenAI or ChatGPT module over there, where you already put a prompt that you are going to receive a meeting recording. Your job is to take it and convert it into notes, and then you start creating these OpenAI modules or Claude modules, and start connecting them so that they work like agents to complete a workflow.
It sounds a little bit like we're automating at a next level.
It is, yes.
Because as you've said, previously we had to have sort of different plugins or maybe API links or different ways to connect our systems.
Yeah.
And now that we're working in a world where context-aware AI is becoming more useful, now we can actually use some of these tools. I'm going to ask you to repeat some of those tools just for our listeners that perhaps haven't heard of them before. And maybe if we can get a brief description of where to find them and what they do.
Yeah. So the very simple tool to get started with is make.com, make.com. And another one is called N8N. I would say N8N is a bit more technical, but really good for enterprises because you can actually download this tool and host it within your server or within your environment. Whereas make.com is something that you can just sign up for free and get started with straight away. Now we use the term API. So API, whatever it means, but API is basically a connection that allows you to connect a system with your existing system. So for example, with make.com, all you have to do is you go there. If you have to create a workflow that reads your email, so you choose Gmail module over there. It asks you to sign into your Gmail to make that connection. So you do that very simply. And then from there, it can start to watch your emails. Now, if you want ChatGPT to read your email, you can drag and drop a ChatGPT module in there and say, hey, ChatGPT, read these emails and identify the sales email from there.
Now, I'm sure that I'm not the only person who hears those words and actually gets a little bit tense. Do I want ChatGPT to be reading my emails, Aamir?
That's a good question. So you don't need ChatGPT to read all of your emails. You can filter your emails and say, okay, if any of my emails is sales related, I want them to go to, again, if you don't want to use ChatGPT, there are like Claude modules over there. There are multiple AI modules that are available. Make.com has got their own module in it as well. But you are actually sending very specific emails to a ChatGPT module. And like there are some connections available which do not, again, use your data or store your data, and they're just processing your data. The reason I'm saying you send it to something like ChatGPT is because
it's a data highway, not a storage facility.
That's a good way to explain it. Yes.
Yeah, you're going to get on that freeway and you're going to come out the other side, but not really. You're not going to hang out on there.
Yes, but you need something to read that email to understand what that email is actually about if you want to take an action. So that's where that AI module comes in that can read that email, extract the information from it, and if you want to store that information, it can store it somewhere, provide a response on that basis. Like you can continue to do multiple actions.
Yes.
So with an automation, you start with a trigger, and that trigger could be you receiving an email, you finishing a meeting, someone sending you a message, a new contract has signed, and then you define, okay, what are the things that I want this workflow to do? And then that workflow can do those things for you.
I find this conversation around automation and this particularly context-aware automation really fascinating and quite exciting. And one of the most exciting things for me about this is that for many years, probably a few decades, if I'm being honest, we've had conversations about ways of working and some of the challenges that people have when they're working. And I think, your description of robots, we would have called them pain points. These things are so common and they have always been there, I think, for everyone, but particularly in a digital age and now emerging into the AI age. I can't think of anyone I know that has a job where they don't have these pain points, where they just walk in the morning or, they're sitting there going, oh, I've just had these emails come in or I've got these meetings coming in back to back and I've got actual work that I need to do. And that feels like it's the conversation that we have so often in the way that we work, is that we have work that we need to do and we have to stop doing the work that we need and want to do the things that we really don't want to do. But we have to do them. Yeah. So this understanding of where automation is going and remembering, of course, that we're right at the beginning of this journey. So if you're feeling like this isn't a conversation that you can be part of, I promise you it's new for all of us. We're all dumb monkeys in this space, but we can be in it together. So I think it's a really important one to be having because the fear of jumping in is stopping, I think, a lot of people and a lot of businesses from stepping into a world that can actually save them a lot of pain.
Yes.
And this isn't about job replacement. This is about job optimization
100%,
and our
yes.
optimization. And just think about if you could walk into your office and go to your team and say, all right, give me the top 3 things that you have to do all the time that you really don't like doing.
Yes.
If you can ease even one of those, imagine the difference that would make to your team.
Oh, absolutely. So we were working with an organization, and they are one of the NDIS funding provider, and they receive a whole lot of invoices every day that they have to process. Now they had like 7 people working on it. So the conversation that we had with them was that if these people were not working on the invoices, was there anything else that they could be doing? And they had a whole list of things that were on their backlog that they could do that could actually provide more profitability to the business. So by automating that task...
And that they probably enjoy more, let's be honest. I mean, processing a whole lot of invoices, unless you've got a really good podcast, the Dumb Monkey podcast, in your ears while you're doing it, is probably not that exciting.
It's not, yes. And today I was talking to a business, and they receive bank accounts from like 11 different banks, and they have to reconcile it all. Now, there are few people working on it. When I asked and I talked to those people, again, they could be doing something better than actually doing that task. But there are a lot of work that we are, like, for example, even if you're a freelancer, like if you're a consultant, you're going out to work with the clients. Now, you really enjoy that consulting work, that one-on-one engagement with the client, and you want to continue to do that. But there's so much of work that you have to do as a consultant, like even filing your BAS and responding to all of the emails, all of the
things that support the way that you work.
Yes, yeah. And there are a lot of things that you hate. Like I personally, when I started my business, I enjoy solving problems. I enjoy working with clients, coming up with things. Sometimes I enjoy creating things as well. But all of the admin back-end work that you have to do, and you say that if you're a founder, you're also a janitor in your organization.
Yeah, we all clean the toilets.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. And we still don't have robots who can clean the toilets really
unfortunately.
well.
There is I think, a perspective or a misunderstanding when people hear about automation, particularly AI-linked automation, that it just replaces.
It does.
It completely takes over. And really, we will say this again and again and again, so I'm sorry, I'm going to be very repetitive. But these AI tools are tools. They're things that we pick up and put down, but they don't replace the people that are doing the job.
Absolutely.
So even in these automated tasks, you can actually smooth the process. You can take away a lot of the pain points in it, but it doesn't mean you don't see it. You still need to see it. We always need humans in the loop when we talk about workflows, always.
And then it's about automating the things that you really don't enjoy or are actually a waste of time. So for example, cooking, I enjoy cooking, right? Like cleaning, my wife, she loves cleaning. Like this is something that we do, and we enjoy some of that stuff. But looking at like the bills and then processing them manually, or filling a form, like if you want to apply for something, just entering the same information again and again. That's something
I want to put my hand up and say, look, as a working parent, if we can figure out an automation system, I need to set myself up with an agent that can automate all of the school emails and the messages that come from all those platforms and put them into something and flag me when I need to know. Because
I've done that actually.
Of course you have.
So
right, well, that's a whole podcast. We're going to come back to that one.
Yes, but I've got an automation that can read all of the emails and notification from schools and everything. There's like so many things that...
So many.
Yes. And it just organizes it really well in the calendar and puts it on priority. Because there has been times when I forgot to even pick up my 4-year-old.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
So, Aamir, we would, I want to hear a lot more about that, but not right now. Look, we all, I think, want a system that can automatically clean our toilets and do those messy jobs or do those annoying jobs that we don't want to do, that we have to do. But those jobs are still important. So how do we know that an automation that we've set up is doing the job that we need it to do? How do we build robustness into these systems?
So first is that any of these tools that you use for automation, they provide you with detailed logs of what it is doing. So you really need to know how this automation is working and what are the decisions that it's making. So for example, again, processing the invoice, keeping a log of how it is processing the invoice, how is it making the decision, and then having a human to actually check how it's making those decisions is really good. So you start by like how you would start with an intern who you would deploy to do a job, but you would have a supervisor actually working with them for the first few days. Then once you are confident in their abilities, you say, okay, that's fine, but you have to do a daily report and send me the report of what you have done and how you have done it. But you will still have a supervisor who would look over 10 people and go and check whether they are working fine or not. And then slowly you would start to give them more freedom, but then you will have reporting in place and some auditing practices in place. Like you would audit them every month and make sure that they are working fine. So it's very similar to how you would regulate humans coming into your organization, but with a bit more rigor in place to make sure that they are working and doing their job really well.
So you need to get your AI agent to put calendar alerts in there for the person that's going to be responsible for checking the logs.
Yes, and then someone else to check that that AI agent is putting the log. But the thing is that there are two types of work. One is the work which is like really repetitive, like taking information from one place and putting into second place. Now, this is the stuff where there's not a lot of decision making involved. And these are the things that AI can actually do better than humans, because humans are prone to make errors and so on. But if you set up an automation right and it's working well, it's going to continue to work well. But then there are some more advanced use cases where if you put an automation, and there's decision making involved, that's where they can start to make mistakes. That's where you need to be a bit more mindful of and put supervision on the top of it. So understanding what are the risks involved in any automation that you are doing and creating a very clear matrix of risk and categorizing them accordingly would allow you to sort of say, okay, these are automations that we can happily run fine in our organization. These are some automation that we need to keep a watch over.
I'm going to ask you to step back a little bit and be the dumb monkey again. I was really interested when you popped in there about doing a matrix of risk. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that and tell our viewers that how they might begin on that process, or what are some useful tools that they can use to set up a matrix of risk? Because I think that's a really important point.
It is, yes. And so to again simplify it, like the best way to look at risk in anything is understanding, okay, we are putting a process in place, but what are the things that can go wrong with it? And then
so this might be edge cases, perhaps, depending on what the example is. So if we give an example of a process to automate sales inquiries, so incoming sales inquiries.
So imagine sales inquiries, right? If you are setting it up on make.com, now the first thing is that your connection with the Gmail can break, which means that a sales inquiry is coming in, you're not getting notified. So that's a big risk. So you need a system to mitigate that risk. You need a system put in place that if that connection breaks, you need to be notified about it straight away. That's like a very simple risk. The second risk is that if a sales inquiry comes in but doesn't capture the information correctly and put in a wrong information in your CRM, then you need to identify how you're assessing the system that you're putting in place so that it provides the right information in there. Third information is that it starts to go rogue and decides to automatically send that information to your competitor or whatever. Like these are all the risks that you have to work out.
It starts to automatically send responses about things that you don't necessarily want it to.
That's right. Yes, and then you any risk you actually mark it against what's the likelihood of this risk happening. So a likelihood of GPT taking your email and sending it to someone else is very low because it's not prone to do that. But the impact is the second thing that we measure is the impact. So we say, okay, what's the likelihood? 1 out of 5. And what's the impact? It could be 5 out of 5. And then you multiply that or add that, and that gives you your risk matrix. Like you can have more criteria in that, but a very simple way to look at it is what is the likelihood of something happening and what is the impact if it happens. And if the risk score is high, then you take actions accordingly.
Yeah. I know there's some great tools that people can pick up in the Enterprise Monkey training, but also the CEO Who Mocked AI.
It is, yes. Thank you for the plug. Yes, I forget to talk about it. So we have talked about... I
can't miss it because it's sitting behind you, so it keeps reminding me to...
Yeah, so we have got a whole chapter on automation, and this is where the Blake, who's the hero of the book, he takes his whole tender management process and automates it with the help of make.com. So there are some really good insights in there. But there's like a full tutorial in the Dumb Monkey AI Academy on how you can set up this AI automation. The good thing is that you do not need a technical team to help you with these automations, because there are tools that you can use to drag and drop and do it. You just need to have a very clear understanding of how the process works and automate it. And it's not just related to sales or marketing. I would say give me any company, any role, and I can identify the robots there and automate a lot of those things.
I have absolutely no doubt. And I really think for pretty much everyone who's watching or listening to this, that we've all done that. We've spoken to friends, family, people that you've standing next to in a queue, people that you connect with via Teams, that you're all sitting there scratching your heads going, why do we keep doing this? We all have those things in our our roles. So
so the first part is to automate those repeated tasks, but the second part is looking at the opportunities of what more you can achieve with this. So one automation that I've done with this podcast is that as soon as we have got the audio, it goes and transcribes the audio. It extracts the quotes from the podcast and then create images that we can post on social media. Then it actually goes and extracts the main points and then creates blogs on the basis of this podcast. So we are taking one podcast, which we are spending a couple of hours on, and then generating around 60 pieces of content from that one single podcast with the help of that automation.
So this is I'm so glad that you brought this up, because that was actually going to be one of my questions, was what's some of the more exciting ways that we can use these automations? And how you're talking about this, so I'm going to come at this from a content creator's point of view. In the brave new world of AI and content creation, one of the most important messages that we can tell people in any form of communication, so whether you're a small business, whether you're an enterprise business, regardless of what it is you're trying to do, is multi-use content. Single-use content is a little bit like single-use plastics. It's just a no-no. We spend a lot of time making the effort to turn up and gather the words or gather the information, get in front of a camera, take photos, do video. These things take time. So if we're going to invest our time in creating content, how can you actually use it, and don't just use it once?
Absolutely. Repurpose it. And previously, the repurposing task was a very manual task. Now you can automate it all. So if you look at the LinkedIn post that went out from my profile today, it was about, so recently ANZ has decided to fire 3,500 people. And that's the saga. And they're saying it's restructuring and all, but we all know there's AI hidden behind it. So I actually received a notification on my Telegram, which is similar to WhatsApp, from my AI agent that ANZ has done this. What is your view on it? So I actually recorded a small audio and I said, I think it's because of AI and this is what's going to happen. We are going to see it in next 6 months. From that, my AI automation actually created a LinkedIn post, and that was posted on my LinkedIn today. So it's still my voice, my opinion, but I didn't have to do the research and find the news. I didn't have to write the post. So it's still very authentic, but uses AI to automate that research part and the writing part for me.
So, Aamir, we've talked a little bit about sales, automation in sales. We've talked a little bit about automation in communications and marketing comms space. But there's some other really interesting areas where automation is employed across business or is beginning to be deployed more widely in business. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Yes. So one of the key areas is in maintaining relationship with your customers. So we were working with one of the clients, and they produce custom parts for their clients. And earlier they had people just chasing up of when it's going to be done. There were delays and things like that. So we started by embracing automation from the very beginning. When the customer places an order about a particular part, it actually sends them a video of the founder, which is AI generated, saying, hey, Max, thank you for ordering this. We have just we have sent this order to our factory. By the way, your first time customer, how about we give you a 30% discount on this part and this part. But that's all video is like all AI generated. That's all automated. But the customer is receiving something from the founder and they are getting that engagement. Now, when it goes into the production, there's a second video that goes to them about And it's all happening automatically. Is from the production manager saying, hey, we have received your product, I've allocated this to these people, and it's going to take another 3 days or 4 days. So you can start to automate a lot of that communication, that back and forth that generally would require you to send an email manually or so on. But you can also keep them excited throughout the process. There's a process that we talk about, which is called psychological moonshots. So psychological moonshots is a concept that was really famous, made famous by Uber. So Uber, what they identified was that people were not happy waiting 15 minutes or 20 minutes for their car to arrive. So they initially discussed how can we actually shorten the cycle, but they really can't control that. So what they thought is, if we actually provide people with a visualization of how their car is coming, so you actually give them something to do, then people perceive irritation on waiting actually becomes lower. So if you keep your customers updated with what's happening and give them something to do in the meanwhile, give them a game to play, give them a video to watch, then it makes the experience much better for them. And earlier it was a laborious process. You would have account managers calling the customer and so on. But now you can have AI automations in place that can do that stuff for you. And you don't need to go down the path of like an AI avatar or video avatar, whatever. Even simple messages or communication throughout the way can actually solve a lot of that problem.
There's a lot of automation space in logistics, for instance, because logistics is such a stepped process that it makes a lot of sense to be able to do that. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think something that is really interesting with this development of AI automation into those more advanced business processes is that when it really works, it comes back to how it makes people feel. So we've talked about taking a pain point out of a job and what might that make people feel.
Yeah.
We've talked about how it might create space for employees to do less of those rote tasks and then to be able to release a bit of their creativity, being able to develop new business areas and how that might make people feel. And we're also talking about customer endpoints. So the people who, our business relies on them, we don't have a business without customers or without clients to serve. And so how can we make people feel? It's a really interesting space, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we're talking, this is such a technology conversation. But at the end of the day, it's not about how can I automate something so that this is a really clever process. It's thinking about it at that next level. How can I automate this so it's a really clever process that people are actually going to enjoy or deliver a benefit to people?
Absolutely. And then how can we shorten the cycle of providing responses? It could be customers needing a quote.
Because there's nothing more annoying than sitting there waiting for, I don't know when someone's going to, I'll give you the grand example, the plumbing example. Who hasn't had, when you've got a plumbing problem,
you need a fix.
You need someone to come and fix it. But getting a response that says, I'll be there between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. is not ideal.
That's right.
So, if we think about the opportunities for automation in the trade sector, for instance.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Imagine if, and there are companies that are doing this now. I mean, there are organizations that are doing this now when you'll get a message to sort of say, okay, well, it's now going to be between this, and then you'll get a follow-up and to say, look, we'll message you, they're going to be an hour out, and then they're going to be 20 minutes out, and then we're on our way. And and these sort of things are just, they make you feel a little bit more seen and heard, but it's a little bit respectful of people's time.
It is. But also if you look at from a plumber's perspective, you're out there doing the jobs and then you have to get new business, which means you have to pick up the phone and answer the same question every time.
It's really, plumbing in itself is a bit of an edge case because you don't know how long every job's going to take.
That's right.
You can't set that there is uncontrollables in there.
Yes.
So you have to have ways of working that will allow you to be flexible but then still connected. So it's
absolutely. But also like making bookings, like a customer calling you in the middle of job saying, hey, can you do this? Like, of course I can do this. It's on my website,
I don't want
right?
my plumber to stop fixing my toilet to answer the phone call.
That's right. And then saying, okay, I can be there at this point of time. This is a very simple automation that is out there that can be done very simply, where an AI can pick up the phone call and say, yes, we do these services. We can service your area. If customer asks a very simple problem, it can answer them and say, you can do it yourself. These are the charges. okay, we can make a booking. It can actually make a booking in the plumber's calendar. Like, why would you want to pick up a phone call, answer the same question again and again, open up your calendar and make a booking if AI can do it for you?
Now, that sounds awesome. And I would love it if it worked that way every time. I think we all know that, though, that's isn't the way that it works all the time. So AI isn't infallible, and it can be, from a customer experience or even in a workflow experience, when these systems don't respond or don't have the option that you're looking for. And we talked a little bit about an edge case. An edge case being something that exists outside of something that's different to the normal. So it's something that challenges the system. How do we overcome that, or how do we prepare for that as people that are looking to integrate AI automations into our workflows? How do we prepare for the fact that if we don't get this really right, it's going to really annoy people?
It is. So the reason that AI is infallible, or we talked about hallucinations, the reason why that happened is, and ChatGPT has revealed why it has happened recently, is because the way all of these models have been built is they have been incentivized not on the basis of accuracy or confidence, but on the basis of if they are returning a response, because this is how all of the SAT and all of the tests are based. So if you, when you are building these automation agents, set up a reward system where you reward it on providing the right answer and also saying no when it doesn't know the answer, then by just doing a simple step in your prompt, it can completely change the experience. So you can say that if you do not know the answer, then say, I don't know the answer, and I would now direct your call to a person or something like that, or stop doing that work at that point of time.
So a lot of this is around us as humans learning to understand how AI is working.
Absolutely.
I mean, we want the AI to work with us, and we want it to understand how we work. But really, if we want it to work well, we need to understand it as well.
Yeah.
And that's a really important point.
Yeah.
So how would someone do that? So for someone who is stepping into the journey, who is kind of excited about, I mean, I'm going to use a plumber as the example because I have a rock star female plumber that I absolutely love, and I see how hard she works. And I'm sure that she could use some automation in her world to just smooth some of those automated tasks or some of those rote tasks. But I know she doesn't want to send me a message saying, "Oh, look, sorry, I can't help you," or "Hi, I heard that you had a query about your bathroom," when I've called her about a problem in my kitchen. So I know she doesn't want to do that.
Yes.
So how does she, as someone who hasn't stepped through a lot of the AI journey so far, how does she start, and how does she set this up, and what does she look out for in terms of those edge cases or those problems that AI can throw up?
So, for example, if she receives a lot of query via email, then rather than creating an automation that reads the email and responds straight away, she can create a simple automation that reads the email, and it already knows what services she provides. It has got all of the context. It can read the email and draft a response to that email and say, "Hey, we can help you with this service. These are the times that I'm available. These are my rates." Now, when she opens her email during her lunchtime, she already has 5 or 10 emails that are already drafted. All she needs to do is just make small tweaks and send that. So it prevents her from typing and responding to each email because that has already been done.
So it's saving her a lot of time, but it's not removing her out of the process.
Yes. Yeah. But once she knows that she has fine-tuned her automation enough, then she can actually remove that manual checking part. Or can say, if the confidence level is at 100%, then send it. If the confidence level is below 80%, then check it from me. And then that could be the workflow.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that's one of the great challenges that we're stepping into this world now, is when everything is possible, starting becomes really hard.
It does.
So you can absolutely get to the point of sending AI-generated videos, but it might be something just as simple as a text service or a redirection to a website, and then an automation on your website that allows people to book simply or to get some FAQs.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Like even when we talk about the voice assistants, taking a phone call and answering a complex question can be difficult, but just doing a follow-up phone call and saying, "You booked an appointment, are you still coming or not?" is something, it is a very simple use case. The person is going to say yes or no, or person is going to say, and then you would know. So those are the simple things that you can start to do with it. Once you have that confidence, and you can go into more advanced use cases.
Before I close out this conversation, and it has been a fascinating one, I know we're going to come back to this a lot, but I'm actually really interested in, I guess, getting your insight into when this doesn't go so well. And I'm going to give you an example, and then I'd love your thoughts on how this could have been done better. So there is an unnamed international supplier of electronics, and I may have bought my father a device recently, or a piece of plug-in technology to do a pretty simple task that didn't come with a user manual. It was an air fryer. It wasn't that big a deal. It's super simple to use, right? It's an air fryer.
Yes.
But there were no instructions.
Right.
And then you couldn't find the instructions on their website. And I was doing this thinking, why is this not an automation?
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Because as much as there's all this wonderful information about product design and recipes that you can do, but there wasn't any information on how do I plug it in, give it a wash first, turn it on, first use case, and then the most simple things that you would do. It just wasn't there. And it really was I don't even know if he's found it yet, but it was very hard to find.
Yeah. A similar one is like...
And I'm guessing that their marketing budget is huge and their production budget would be huge. So this is, to me, felt like a real fail of we haven't thought through that customer experience.
Yes, and it doesn't require you to do a whole lot of things. It could be a very simple QR code, or when you are sending an order confirmation, you can have a link which can contain that manual as well. And you don't even have to produce a video now. Like there are AI tools through which you can take a manual and convert it into a video. But that's something that I get really frustrated with when I buy a piece of furniture as well. Some of the companies are so terrible in providing the instruction on how to put things together.
Yeah, the old flat pack headache.
Yes, and then like there are like got manuals in black and white, and like it's very difficult to find the right screws and things like that.
Put part A into part B and I don't even know when everything looks like part G.
Yeah, and that's just terrible customer service. That's just terrible attention to detail. If you could supply a very simple QR code with it, and like you would have done an assembly one time in your factory. We don't need something finished. We just need to see how it works. Yeah. And if you could just have posted that video, that's all we needed.
Yeah. So of course this isn't, I mean, as much as fascinating as I'm sure this conversation is for everyone, what we're talking about isn't about air fryers and about flat pack shelves.
Yes.
It's about really thinking about what is the experience of your customer when they're coming into your business or your service or your organization. And when you're in the process of setting up an AI automation or any other form of automation, let's assume that it's an AI one, don't take your eyes off that person.
100%, yes.
We need to be remembering that we're speaking to humans all the time. This isn't just about a technology solution. This is about making something simpler for someone at the other end that is coming in to use it. So it is that old user experience.
Yes. And it's also applies to your internal team members as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have got these amazing companies, but so difficult to get an approval for doing something simple or to find a very simple piece of information. You have to dig through process and so on.
Yeah.
You have AI assistants which can provide people with those answers. So you need to expose your documentation to these AI assistants through which people can actually ask questions. You need to automate your approval processes as well. There's so many things that can make the life of your team members easier and make your organization a fun place to work with. And similarly, make the customer experience much better for your people as well.
I heard a really interesting perspective not that long ago, but it's something that's popped up over the years that I think is really useful in this space. It's that it can become very problematic when you're trying to develop new systems or new workflows or put in new messaging if you try and speak to everyone. Actually speak to someone.
Makes sense.
So when you're trying to speak to everyone, it's so easy to get lost.
Yes.
I'm going to do this. Everyone will be able to understand it. But if you bring it back and go, I'm going to speak to, so Aamir in this room, I'm your dumb monkey and you're explaining things to me.
Yeah.
And then the people that are watching and joining us, they get to share in that information. And that is exactly the kind of message that we would encourage all businesses, all leaders, and anyone who's really stepping into this space of integrating AI into their workflows is to say, do not forget to speak to someone at all times. Who's your person using it? That one person, not all of them. Give us one.
Absolutely.
And ideally make them a dumb monkey because
that's right.
If you can get it past us, you can get it past anyone, right?
100%.
Oh, terrific. This was a really cool conversation. There's so much more that we have to talk about in the space of automation, Aamir. And I'm really looking forward to reaching out into some of our networks and bringing in some people that have had some really cool experiences in ways that they've introduced automation, AI-driven automation into their businesses and workflows. So I'm really looking forward to sharing some of those stories as well. And thank you so much for joining us on this latest episode of the Dumb Monkey podcast. We're having a great time bringing it to you, and we hope that you join us again next time.